Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be going over my guide on Warbringer that includes strategy, kill techniques, and the builds you're going to want. And before I get into this, I would recommend a 2 or 3 man team for most people to complete Warbringer legit. But for any of you crazy enough to try it solo, then this guide is going to be exactly what you need. Alright, and let's get right into the guide. Starting off with phase 1, the main thing we obviously got to do is just bait all the titans away from Aaron's Rock. Something that's important though is we're going to want to be killing any isolated titans that we find along the map. It's much harder to kill them when they're grouped up, and if they're grouped up you're likely to get grabbed, which is just going to lead all the titans right back to the rock. So we're going to want to isolate as many titans as we can. And they all spawn in different areas, so we're going to go to the most populated area to start grouping them, and every titan we see on the outskirts we're going to go for that kill. Because of all the modifiers on, we have to be going our max speed, and we're going to need to flip away after each kill. If we don't flip away, we're probably going to get dived, and if we aren't going max speed, we aren't going to kill them, and we're going to get grabbed. Now that we have our horde set up, you're going to notice there's a few titans on the rock every now and then. What you want to do is lure your horde as far away as you can, and then rush towards the rock, kill one of the titans, and then backflip straight up a little bit away from the rock. If you're above the rock, then the titans are just going to lock onto that. If you're too far away from the rock, then the titans that were on the rock aren't going to lock onto you, so you have to find a good balance in between them. You're also going to want to be flipping as soon as you can with every single titan kill, or else you're just going to get grabbed by ping. And when we're doing Warbringer, something that really matters is the target choosing. We want to always go for the tallest or the biggest target, or else if we go for a smaller one next to it, we're going to get hit for sure. But also, if we see a big bundle of titans already on Aaron's Rock, we want to go for the furthest one possible from our group. Because if we kill that one and then backflip over the other 2 or 3, let's say, then those 2 are going to lock onto us and join the group. This does mean you're probably going to have to curve around them and their grab hitbox, or maybe go a little bit higher than normal, but it'll be worth it. And sometimes you'll find out there's a couple titans behind the rock, and if you have a group of people, you're going to have someone stationed back there, so they'll be able to deal with it. But in my case, I'm solo, so I had to go bring the group back there myself and take them out. Something that really helps is having the titans break all the buildings in the area. And you could use the buildings to your advantage by having them break it as you're killing a titan that's isolated, so you have more time, but that might lead to some complications and some things you aren't going to be able to control. So might as well just have a clear playing field with all the buildings destroyed. Now, this one is mostly for solo players. Something that really matters in phase 1 is your gas conservation. If we're going to be backflipping too much on every single kill, that'll use up more gas than a side flip would, and we're going to run out before we kill all 44 titans. Another thing for solo is if we float around too much, then we're going to be using up too much gas, doing nothing, and getting no kills. So we actually want to play pretty aggressive. Anytime you see an isolated titan, you just got to go for it, and if you miss, then that's fine because we're allowed a couple misses. Next, you're going to want to learn when the waves spawn. There's usually around 15 titans on the map or so, and then once you get 9 kills at the start of the match, assuming you're playing solo, then the next wave is going to spawn, putting it back up to around 15 titans on the map. I didn't do the exact measurements because it didn't matter as much. It's all about just grouping them all up anyways. It's not about a certain number. But I do know once I hit 9 kills, the first wave will spawn, which means more isolated titans. I know at around 17 kills and around 25 kills, I'll see the next waves. You can also just know when you're running low on titans, more are going to spawn in. And I did say to side flip for every kill, and that's usually going to be fine. But let's say you're running low on gas and you can't use up the side flip gas. Try and get a kill and hook towards a wall as soon as you can if you really need to conserve gas. This is one that's going to be really hard to do with how fast the titans are, assuming you also want to reach max speed while hitting them. But it's just a worst case scenario. Next, something that's really important is you always want to keep watch of your blade durability. It's going to be really, really hard to kill most titans if you're on one segment, so you should always just refill it, as the first phase, you aren't going to run out of blade durability. Of course, you can go for crawler kills because they have less HP than standing titans if you have one blade, but you're still going to need max speed, and it's just not worth to go for that risk in case you get grabbed. You'll have no blades left. Alright, another little strategy I made up for phase 1 is to bring all the titans into the spawn area. First, I clear out all the buildings, and then I just lure them here. This is probably the biggest area that you're going to have that's a free space, while still within Aaron's range, so you're not too far away where the titans unlock on from you. This is also really good because of this little lip right here. I use this lip to isolate the small titans because they can't step over it, and so it leads to really easy kills. Just be careful when you do this. If you have a group under you and you go for a titan that's really small, then someone might dive or kick you. So you can just isolate half the group over there and then kill the next half in this zone that we use, and then use the smaller titans as the last few you're going to kill. And then if you ever need to just stay in one spot, this is usually good for multiple groups of people. If you want to just stay still, I recommend just hooking in every direction as much as you can and holding W so you float upwards. It'll be a good way to conserve gas and keep you in the exact same spot so the titans don't lock onto anything else they shouldn't be. Alright, and that's phase 1 done. And now if we're playing solo and we have 5% gas or over, we are going to want to lure Aaron outside right away. If you don't know how to lure him outside, you just bring him to the spot in the wall and he needs to be running. So you need to go far away from him so he starts his run. The reason I say 5% gas is because that's the minimum you need to be able to make it past Aaron's wall and then back to the refill station if you're solo. If we don't do this, we run the risk of letting him come to the refill station and he can punch you through the wall. So if you don't have enough gas, you're going to have to take that risk. But if you have enough, just lure him outside first. Now that we're back from our refill, we're going to want to take any of the titans that also followed Aaron outside back out. And so we just sit on the opening of the wall so then Aaron can't be running so he can't escape. And then you can just lure them out by staying close to the wall, bringing them off to the side. All the titans are now stuck outside there so we can go back over. And I like to fight Aaron on this left side of the wall because you won't have to... He won't be going in the river, and so he won't be changing elevation, and so his hitboxes are going to stay in the same level, and it's just more consistent. The first thing we want him to do, though, is to break the buildings, so let's try and bait out a punch from him. Oh, one more thing. Let's say if we have a lot of gas from our first phase because we had a lot of people, you could use them to fight Aaron, as it'll give you more wiggle room later on, and you're probably going to have a lot of blade durability left, so you might as well use it up. Now, let's go over a quick overview of how Aaron works. When he sees you in a certain position, let's say in front of him, he's going to do a corkscrew punch if he's off cooldown. Usually this is the one we're going to want to bait out because we can be far away and it's really easy to avoid and see coming. When we're fighting Aaron, we want to get into a rhythm of hitting him 3 to 4 times and then backing up so we can bait out his punch, or any one of his skills really. Just be ready. Sometimes you're close to him, let's say if you're off pace a little bit and his skill cooldown is up, and let's say you're above him, he's going to uppercut, which is pretty hard to dodge. This is a really deceptive hitbox as it can even hit you if you're at his feet, so do not go for leg hits while he's uppercutting. And let's say you're below him, he's gonna use his power stomp, which is easy to avoid as long as you're expecting it, but if you aren't, then you might get caught by it because it does have a really big hitbox. As long as you're going max speed though, you will be able to escape that. And then his roar. This one doesn't matter too much, but it does happen every 2 to 3 skills he uses, like his punch and his uppercut. He'll roar after 2 to 3. And there's nothing really special you can do with it, except for just get in a good position and wait to attack him again. But that does count as one of his skills, so you know there's another 3 to 4 hits you can get before he uses another one. Alright, before we keep on going with Aaron, I'm gonna just say, let's say at this point you've already exhausted your first refill. If you have extra gas to use, you can go bring the titans inside the wall to the other side where there's another opening, and you can lure them outside just for safety's sake. You don't want any titan to accidentally climb the wall or come into the refill station, so if you have the extra resources, use them. Alright Aaron, back to you. Let's talk about actually attacking him now. These are the kill techniques. You'll notice in my gameplay, I'm being super careful, and just because it's always better to miss your hit than it is to get hit by him. I can miss probably 30 hits or so every refill and still use up all my blades, but if I get hit by him twice, then I'm dead. And whenever you go for a hit on him, I want you to think of these certain criteria. Number 1, you want to hit at the very edge of his hitbox. If we're too far inwards, we are for sure to get hit by one of his attacks. This is because of the client side and server side noticing where you are, and all you have to know is just hit him on the very edge of where you need to. Number 2, we want to approach and exit from outside of his attack area. So we know he's going to be punching in this area in front of his torso. We know he's going to be stomping around these area of his legs, and we know he's going to be grabbing basically all around his torso as well. This includes his nape. Let's say we're going for his legs. We want to enter from outside of his hitbox, and we want to exit as soon as we can. Now for legs, this would mean coming in from above and then curving back upwards because you'll exit the stomp hitbox as it's on the floor mostly. But we don't want to be in front of him because then he's going to punch us, and that means we're entering another attack zone. And so for the legs, you just want to go as fast as you can through his legs and then curve upwards so we avoid the stomp. Because of how slow he is with the stomp, you don't exactly have to curve upwards, but it's still safer. But let's keep on going with the rules. Number 3, we want to be efficient in time and gas usage. The gas is the main thing you're going to run out of when fighting Aaron, and if we take too long, then he's going to keep on healing, and it's going to take forever to do it. And if he keeps on healing more than we attack him, then we're going to run out of refills, and then we're going to lose. To avoid this, you just want to try and stick with the methods I'm giving you and do as best as you can to play safe, but also be aggressive. Alright, now, we already know a little bit about the legs, about how you want to go as fast as you can, and so they're pretty easy. They're usually the one you're going to want to find a weak spot on, and it's going to be very nice. Just keep in mind, we do not want to be grappling Aaron when it comes to his legs. We want to grapple behind him so we can gain max speed and then go right past him. Alright, and then when he's crippled, this is probably the best time to get damage off. So if I see he's crippled and I have one blade segment left, I'm just going to refill as soon as I can and get into position. You get more damage if you give higher blade segments, and I won't have to waste time while I'm attacking him to reload because I'm already getting into position and while reloading. So it saves a bit of time, and it gives us a lot more damage. Alright, and the specific technique when he's crippled like this is you want to go in a diagonal across his back, and every time you go across his nape, you want to press W and go upwards. If we don't do this, we're going to be too close to his body and get grabbed, and it's also not going to set up our next hit. You see, the good part about this technique is you go up and you hit once, and then you're at a high angle so you can grapple him again at his neck. Go down and hit him twice. And then even on the way down, you're going to want to curve back up so you have a good angle to go again. Keep in mind, you're going to want to be at max speed while doing this, or else he's going to grab you. And you want to keep the diagonal, and you do not want to touch his body, or else it might get you stuck. This method is especially good if you have nape assist, because then it's a lot more consistent, and you actually hook further out than you would if you were to be hooking his shoulder or something. And hooking further out means less likely to get grabbed. Alright, that's his legs down. Next up is his arm. There are two options. You either want to stay high or stay low. If we're talking high, we want to be hitting him on the very edge of his shoulder. If we're talking low, we want to be hitting him right on his hand. The hand is a lot safer because his punches are more towards his chest area, and same with his grabs. We're actually approaching from outside of his range and exiting outside of his range pretty easily. The only problem is when he punches, he is going to be moving his hand if he punches with that arm. And so you might miss a few times. This is still the method I choose to use though, because it is safer, and as I said, much better to miss than to get hit. Let's say if you're going for the shoulder though, try and go on the very edge of the hitbox just like all the other hits, and stay out of the attack range as much as you can, so try not to be in front of him. Alright, and once his arm is broken, this leaves his nape as his wake spot, but he is also still moving around. He is not crippled. And this leaves you with two options. One, go for this technique I'm about to show you, or two, use up your gas so you can guarantee some hits. The first thing, using this technique. It is very hard, and I've only tried this with nape assist, and so I'm going to just show you how I do it with it. I grapple his neck, I curve up towards the arm that is broken so I don't get grabbed. We want to try not to be in front of him, nor do we want to try and be behind him, because that's where his grab is going to reach us. I go a little bit low, hoping to proc his stomp, because I know his skill isn't on cooldown as long as I'm making sure for that. And then also going low, I'm going to be able to get a lot of momentum going upwards. And then I try and barely reach his nape hitbox by staying right on the edge of his body, curving upwards, hitting him, and then going away and preparing to do that again. This one doesn't flow too nicely, and so that's why I can say you can use boost dashes to try and supplement some damage here. Every refill, we're allowed around 20 dashes. And this doesn't mean we shouldn't be using any of these 20 dashes. This means we should be using all of them as much as we can be. This is definitely one of the times I'd recommend to use them. It's pretty easy to just stay high up near his head where none of the attacks should hit you, curve towards his neck, and then curve upwards again, so we enter the attack area and leave it as soon as possible while going fast because it's a boost dash. I would say though, this is kind of more risky to getting hit, but it is easier. I do have a lot of trouble getting this one technique down, even though I practiced it a lot. And as you can see here, I am getting it pretty consistently, which is why this is the winning run. Alright, and one warning, if you ever have his arm become a weak spot and you destroy it, be extremely careful with how many hits you get off. Because if his arm regenerates and you are next to him, you will get grabbed. I cannot stress this enough. It's better to underhit him than try and overhit him and get grabbed. There are a couple times you'll see me apply this principle with any of his weak spots that happen to be there. I'll just sit back and wait because in my brain, it's just telling me if I go for one more hit, he's going to regenerate and then he's going to grab me and then the run is over. So better safe than sorry. Alright, on to his last weak spot, the eyes. This is another time where I would be fine with you utilizing the 20 boost dashes that we're allowed to use per refill. You see, I got to the point where I didn't have to use them as much because of this one technique. where I try and hook either the wall or really far behind him, and then I stay high up outside of his attack range at his torso. I hit his eyes and I try and go up as soon as possible because I don't want to get stuck on his body and get pushed downwards. This isn't too bad. Sometimes you might not hit him with max speed, and so that's why I can say using boost dashes is fine. And also sometimes it's just hard to not hit his body and then get hit by him. So if you need to use boost dashes here, go for it. We want to use them all. Alright, now that he is blinded, he has two options. Either stomping or using the stomp skill. Or roaring, I guess, but let's not count that. These stomps will only activate if you get a little bit lower than his nape. Now, this is a very tight window, but it is possible to have an entire blinded section without him ever stomping. But let's just expect everything that could go wrong, and in case we see him stomping, you could use a boost dash to get away. This is also a time where sometimes I would use a boost dash to go back and forth to hit him much faster and get him as much damage as I can in this section. I know more arm weak spots are going to be coming up, and I know I get less damage on them, so I want to maximize how much damage I get on the weak spots that are easier to get damage on. And also keep in mind, if he does use his stomp skill, then he will be left with iframes, meaning you'll get less damage off. So it's really just better to stay as high as you can and get used to playing at that exact level where his nape is. Alright, last up in this yap sesh is his rage mode, which doesn't really change anything except for his speed. I think his attack speed is higher. And yeah, this happens when he reaches 25% HP, and it brings him right back up to 40% HP. The main thing you want to do for rage mode is getting a bigger distance between you and Aaron because of how fast he closes it. And you need a big distance to be able to wind up your speed. If we aren't reaching max speed for every single hit we get on him, we are for sure getting hit. So that's why you'll see me going as far as I can, trying to conserve my speed by hooking around even after attacking him, which didn't work too well, but I still tried. I sometimes even use boost dashes because I know how fast he'll close the distance on me, and even though boost dashes bring you exactly to max speed, it will still be enough to get past his legs, let's say. The main thing you're going to notice a change though in this is his arm hitboxes. Because he's running, he's going to be moving his hand up and down a lot, which is where the shoulder hits might come in handy. But because I still prefer to play safer than get hit, I go for his hand, even if I miss tons of times, as you see here. And this could be a good time to go take a breather if you need to. As long as you're far away from Aaron, he isn't going to do the roar move. The only time I'd recommend doing a break, though, is if you think his roar is about to come out. Let's say he already did 2 to 3 skills. That means his next one is guaranteed to be a roar. He's only going to roar if you're close to him. So if you get far away, then he's going to roar no matter what. But let's say he just roared and then you go far away. That means his roar is on a quicker cooldown, or it's on less of a cooldown by the time you come back to him, and so he's just going to gain more HP than he otherwise would. At this point too, you can calculate how many refills you have. If you're running low, then you're going to want to be really efficient, let's say not boost dashing as much or anything like that. If you have plenty, then you can boost dash more and play safer. In my winning run here, you'll notice at the very end when I killed Aaron, I still had 1 full refill and then 2/3 of the one I had left. This is quite a lot that I could have used to play around with, and it's a lot of wiggle room for you guys to mess up and, let's say, hit the wrong spot or use up some more boost dashes, anything like that. It's plenty of room. And now, let me go on to the parts that made me lose each run, because I've been to Aaron's phase 18 times, and I doubt many other people have gotten that far. And so, let me give you some quick warnings. One of the first things I started to notice as a problem was running out of blades. This was because I wasn't refilling when I had an obvious weak spot. Let's say his legs being crippled, I would use up the 1 blade segment, and then I would have to spend a second or 2 reloading, and then I would be able to get like 1 more hit off, and then his weak spot would be done. What the method I choose now is a refill right as he gets his legs broken, or if I know he's about to, and so I can maximize my damage, and then it lessens the overall blades we need to use, even though we are wasting a segment. The next problem I had was not going fast enough. If you aren't going max speed for every single hit you get on him, you're guaranteed to get hit. I promise this. The last thing is not playing safe enough. If you are in a spot and you notice you can get a hit off him, if you boost dash towards him, it's probably going to get you hit. If you aren't fully confident and if you aren't doing the exact technique, then there's a chance of getting hit, because these are the best ones that I can come up with. Now, of course, if you find your own, go for it, but these are after my trial and errors, so it's what I believe. And that's exactly why I made this video, to give you guys a golden ticket method. Of course, this video kind of applies mostly to solo players, but there's no reason why you can't do this in multiplayer. The way I found the easiest to do Warbringer in multiplayer was fighting Aaron one-on-one, because he won't be turning around every now and then, and it's just less risky to get hit. But everyone can do their own way. It's just how I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend anyone do this solo, of course. But in case you do, then this video tells you everything that I've learned. And of course, all these techniques work as long as the people on your team are away from Aaron, let's say far away on the wall. If he's close to the wall and he locks onto them and then locks back onto you, he's going to be changing his hitbox and then he's going to hit you. And so if you're playing with groups of people, just have them sit far away, have you guys go one-on-one and play very safe because you have extra blades. And it would be a lot easier because his health scales less with players than it does if you're solo. So you guys might actually finish the raid with 2 refills left or 3. And just in case there's a single person that sees this guide and somehow solos it and overcomes all the odds, I want to know. If you somehow succeeded, please let me know. That would make me so happy to hear. And the final part of the video, let's go over the build we're going to want. The build doesn't matter much because, as you know, perks don't apply, memories don't apply, everything doesn't apply. The main things that do apply, first of all, your skill tree. The main thing we want in the skill tree is the damage path. On phase 1, we're going to want to be killing every single Titan guaranteed, or else if we don't kill them, they'll grab us, and phase 1 is over just like that. The second thing that is going to be mainly needed, in my opinion, is adrenaline. This allows us to get 2 hits before getting an injury. And to combo with this, you're going to want to go to the left side of the support tree, not what the video is showing, but where I'm clicking. It's the regen path. This will allow you, if you ever get hit, you can just jump on the wall, regen a bit, and with the adrenaline, you won't have an injury yet. And I guess I might as well say this, if you aren't max level, then this would be really hard to do, but go for it, if you want to. And then the only other thing that applies with build is your artifacts. And as you might guess, all I have on the artifacts is damage. We need to be doing as much damage to Aaron as possible so we don't run out of refills. We want to be killing him as fast as possible just so we minimize the mistakes we make. And we also want to be doing as much damage as we can to every single Titan in phase 1 so we don't get grabbed. Pretty self-explanatory build, but if you have any questions, let me know. All right, that is the end of this video. I hope this guide has helped you. If you have any questions for me, just join the Discord down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.